Hello everyone, welcome back to Just Laravel. Here, this is the part 2 of the video, which we have previously discussed about integrating data tables in your Laravel applications. Actually, in the previous application, that was the client-side application, and we have uh, integrated the database, fetched the details in the database, and showed them in the table with search, sort, pagination, and all functionality. So this is the application which we had earlier. So in this part, I'm going to add action buttons here. Beside this salary, I will add action buttons where we can edit or delete the row, edit or delete a particular row. So we are going to do that in this part. This was done in the previous part. If you have missed the first part, please watch the video. So here I'm going to copy this and actions. Here I'm going to copy this TD again, but here we are going to add some buttons here. Button we'll also give a class here, like this bootstrap. We'll use some bootstrap classes like button info. It will show as a blue color, and I'll do this as edit, and one more button here. I will name it as delete. I'll just change the class to danger. That will give us a red color sign. So if I refresh this, you'll see these action buttons popping up, edit and delete. So now when this edit button is clicked, I want to show a model with these details which are editable, and we can save them, so the details here will be updated. Similarly, when delete is clicked, the particular row will be deleted. So I'll also use a model for delete, like confirmation message, are you sure you want to delete this row? So I'll keep those models here. So I'll just keep the buttons now. So here let me add some bootstrap models. For that we use, I'll create a model here. I will just name it edit model. I'll create a model later. I just name it edit model. Similarly, I'll do it for this delete button itself. I will call it as delete model. So let me grab some basic bootstrap model and copy it here. After this, I have just pasted this basic model here. This is the model dialog. I have given ID for this of edit model, so that this edit model should match with the data target. So I have given ID of that, and I have given just text of edit, and this is the model body. Here this is the place where we'll show the form and fill the details, and here are these two buttons for update and close. So I'll save this and we'll run it again. So I'll click the edit model here, and you can see this is the model body, this update and close buttons, and this is also close button. This text is somehow misplaced. Okay, we'll see it later. Now we need to fill this model body with a form which has this data. So first we need to pass this data to the model. So for that, I'll use some data attributes provided in HTML, which can be used later in jQuery. So here for the button, I will add data info, and I will pass all the data I need. Data info equal to, and I will pass all the data like item ID, comma. We can also pass data with comma separated values. Item ID, item first name, item last name. So I have all these values like item ID, item first name, last name, email, gender, country, and salary. So let me go to the browser and refresh. Actually, we won't see anything, but I'll just inspect and see whether the data is passed to this button or not. So here you can see for Emily and all the first name, last name, email details and all that. and it should be different for each row. Let me check that. Let me confirm that also. So we can see this is different for another person, Sarah Anderson. So we are able to get the data in this info variable. So now in this, so now when this model is clicked, we need to get this data. We need to get this data from this info, get this data and show it in the form here. We'll create a form here and show it in the form here. So first let me create a form here, basic form. So this is the basic form. I have created some fields for ID, first name, last name, email, gender, and country and salary. So these fields I have also given some IDs. We have given FID, FName, last name, so that we can use these IDs to generate content in this input value. So that in this input field, as we pass the data from this data info, we need to show them here. We need to show them in these fields. So for that I will use these IDs and set these values in the JavaScript later. So this is the basic form, and I have disabled this because we don't need to edit the ID will be the same. Let me save this, go to the browser, refresh. So I will refresh this page and see, we should see a model. When I click on this edit button of any of this row, so I click edit, you see the model is popping up with update, close, and but now we need to show the data, in these fields. So we can give class to this button. I will give a class like edit model. So in the script which we have this document body function, below this I will write document dot on click. It's click, not proc. On click, forgot to give the edit itself. On click edit model. On click edit model, we'll get this here. So we need to get the data which we have passed there. So we can get that data by using this. So data and which are given, that is info. So when we use this data info, we'll get the details. So now I'll just console.log and see whether we are getting these details or not. So I'll just save this, go to the browser, refresh it. We need to see that details in the console. So I'll open up my console here. So I'll click the edit here. You can see the data for MD, this is passing here. So now we'll use this value and we'll pass it to this empty model here. So actually we can also split, we are getting it by comma values. We can split by using dot split comma, and I will pass this to a variable model data, and you can remove this extra parenthesis around here. So we have split this. So each so the data will be stored in array. So data of so array of the 0th element will be the ID, the first element will be the first name, the second element will be the last name, so on. So we'll have given some IDs for this. So we have given some IDs in the model for these fields. So ID, so what we can do is we can copy that ID, and in here we'll just write id dot value, insert is model data of 0, maybe it's bad. So I'll just save this, go to the browser and see. So now if I click on this edit, you'll see this ID is popping up, and similarly for the other fields. So similarly I'll do it for all other fields in the model. So similarly I have done this for all other fields: first name, last name, email, gender, country and salary. Using this modal later on, the first element, the second element. I'll just save this, go to the browser and check, refresh the page. I'll click on edit, and you see the name, the first name, last name, email, gender, there is country and salary. These are editable. You can change to female, you can change the email, you can change the first name, last name, but this ID cannot be changed. So now when we click on this update, it should update the values for this particular row. So let's do that. So we need to add an action to this update button. So here, when this update button is clicked, we need to pass this data to the database and update this particular row. So we have some class here. I added some ID. I have some ID here. So I can write, when this is clicked, we can call an Ajax. So I'll write an Ajax function when this button is clicked. So after this we can copy the same thing here, but instead of this I will write on click. I'll write $Ajax, and here Ajax, the type is post. I'll give some URL, that means when this button is clicked, which URL we need to send to the backend, so that the Laravel controller might handle it and update the details. I'll just give some URL like /update data. I'll create this root little later. I'm creating this Ajax format, Ajax structure, so that we can create the controllers and backend stuff just after this. Type URL, and the important thing is we need to pass the data which needs to be updated. That would be an array. And the data we need to pass is name. The name will be this fid.val. This is the ID. FID is the ID, and similarly for the all other fields. So these are all the fields: name, first name, last name, email, gender, country and salary. So we have the Ajax method type, that is post. We have the root URL, that is update data, and we have the actual data to be passed to the root. So now let me stop this here and create this root, or let me just create a success function or something there. So I have created this success function and just written some console here. So I will save this, open this web.php file. Previously there was only one function, small function, so I have written it in web.php file itself. So now I think I may need a controller. We need actions for edit and delete, and also we can actually do that things also in web.php file itself, but it's better to create a controller. So let me just create a controller here. I'll stop this server. We can create a controller using php partition make command. And I want to make a controller. I'll name it as data controller. So it will create as a controller, that will be an app HTTP controllers, data controller. So I will create a function here, public function update data. So this will be for data updation, and I'll create one more function for deletion, delete data. So I'll copy this function name and I'll go to this web.php. I'll create a root, that is post root, and the URL we are given is update data, and the controller is a data controller. That is the function name is update data. So when here this update data URL is called, it will take to this controllers, this function, update data function. So we can do all this updation in the database in this function. So we have already created a model, so I will use that model here, app data, and here $data equal to new. No need of new, we'll just call the data, and we'll use find. And if you pass the ID here, it will fetch all the data with that particular ID, and then later we can use the database field names ID, and we can pass some value. Later we can use save function on it. So if you use save, the details will be updated. So first let us have passed the data in the data control. We'll get all this in a request. So we'll get all the data here in this request variable. So for now I'll just also print this just to check it. So I'll just print this and see what it is printing. So let me go to the browser, refresh it. Actually we can see the data which we have printed as DD in the console of the browser, because we are not reacting to any page, we are just using DD there. So it will be in the network, and we click on this edit button, and there, let me go to the network here, stay in the network, I'll clear all this. So it should be in the XHR. So when I click on update, you see this update, we are getting some error, that is okay, CSRF token mismatch. Actually we need to provide a CSRF token when we are doing post methods. As this is a post, we need to provide a CSRF token. So let me just provide that. So as Laravel requires CSRF token in post methods, we need to add a CSRF token. So I'm going to add this. That is pretty simple. We need to add CSRF field, and like this will create a token which can be used in post methods. So when passing the data, even here we need to create a variable, create something called underscore token. I mean not here. While passing it to the Ajax call, here we'll name it underscore token, and we'll pass the hidden we'll pass the value, like that would be the name for token, input name token. That will, the CSRF field will generate as an input field with the name of underscore token. So we'll pass this, then then the Laravel controller might understand that we are using this CSRF, and then it might print us the results we want. So let me save this, go to the browser, refresh it, and now check in the console for any data it provided. You can see this is the update data, and it's showing 200 status. It should showing 200 status. In the preview we can see the data. If we can extend this, you can see this is the data: first name, last name, email, gender, and country and salary. So we'll use this fname, copy this fname here, go to our controller. Similarly, we can get that fname using we can get it like this request. We can call a get method on this request and pass this variable. So actually this should be in the fname database table. This is the table table column name, and this is the value which you want to insert. Similarly for all other fields, name, ID, we got all the details, salary, brother, country, gender, email. You can get all these details from here and then update the details there. So I have done this for all other fields. When you use request of name, request of last name, also use it in this way. Instead of writing get function calling it, you can also directly use it in this way. So I have updated first name, last name, email, gender, country, and salary. Where they actually I missed a line here. So this way I have passed it to the all other variables. So when I click, when that update button is clicked on the model, it will call this function and it will save these data in the database. Let me see whether they are storing in the database. I'll just try again. I'll just close this. I'll just refresh. So I click on edit here. I'll change Emily to Emily SSS. Let me also open the inspector to see if we find any errors or not. If we find any errors, so I'll click on update. You'll see this it shows us an error, unknown column field, updated it. Okay, they have created the database but it doesn't have updated it and created it fields. So what we can do is we can go to the model and disable this updated it and created it timestamps. So we'll go to the user application, we'll go to the model of this user, data, and I will call private timestamps to false. I think it should be private or public. Maybe I'll turn it to public. If it shows an error, then we'll change it to private. So now if we try that again, then it might save this data. Let me refresh, do this again one more time. Work and click on edit. Emily SV to Q. I'll change her last name. I'll add some Q's to the end. You can see update data, it shows its success. So we'll go to the database and refresh it. You can see this Q has been added. That means the data has been changed but nothing happened here. You cannot see the name here or nothing happened here because we haven't done anything. But if you refresh and see, you will see the page. If you refresh, you will see the change. But we don't want that. When we click on edit and click on update, I just wanted the data should be reflected immediately. So for that, what we can do is we can pass this data, the data which you're doing here. We can pass this. We can pass the data from here to the blade here, and in the success function, I can append the data to this table here. In the table here, not append, I can replace the data in the table here. So we can get the data updated automatically in the same page itself without refreshing it again. So let's do that now. As this is an Ajax call, we need to return some JSON so that this can be used in the success function of this Ajax call. So I'll just pass this data here. So I have passed the data here, and in the success function in here, so here in the success function, what we can do is we can replace the tables data. Replace this whole data after updating. So what we can do is we can first, let me create an ID for this, for each row, so that we can replace it. I'll get an ID equal to item and ID. I'll get an item ID here. Item ID. So let's see whether it's reflecting or not. If I inspect and see, you can see this. If I inspect and see, you can see this is having a item 4, item 5, item 6, item 7, item 8. These are all the IDs of this. These are all the IDs, you can see them here. So what we can do is, in the success function, we can just call this ID and replace all of these elements data. So we'll just show you an example now. In the success function, I can hash. Currently I'm doing some statically .html. Hello. So I saved this. Now let me refresh this again. So now when I edit this and click on this update, you can see that complete field has been changed to hello. Similarly, for all other fields also will happen the same thing. I mean, we have done only for the item 4 in the code statically. That way we can change the HTML in the success function. So let us do it dynamically and correctly now. So what I did is I have just copied all the HTML which is present here for this particular row. This tr HTML I have made it as a string and pass it to the function replace with. You can also use HTML, you can also use replace with. So this is the ID, and with here in the data we'll get all the details which you have updated there. The controller, you are passing this data, so we'll get all the data. So with using this data, we'll get this ID, last name, first name, email, gender, and all such things. So now let me check this. You can see it's just the HTML which I've used there. This is the tr, this is the td, and these are all the buttons. And even here for the buttons we used to pass this data info, this data first and last name. So this so basically converted the HTML into string and added some dynamic values. So let me check whether it is updating dynamically. I'll go to the page, refresh it. We see that Emily has returned, so I will edit Emily Brazil update, and we can see this is updated the country to Brazil. So you see guys, it has been updated. You can try it once more. I will click on edit and I will change her name to normal, or I will remove these cues which I added earlier. I will update, and you can see that this has been updated, and we can also check the database for it. I'll just refresh it. You can see the 3 cues which have added been disappeared, and this country has been changed to Brazil and with 3 A's. So that's how we can, that's the edit functionality part. And similarly we'll have a delete. There is no modal, but delete will create a model, and with here in the data info we have passed all the ID, email, first name, last name, and all those. But for delete we don't need that. We need only the ID. We only need the ID. With that ID we can delete the row. So we'll go to the code, the controller. We have written already a function for delete data. So the delete data will be similar like delete, like this. It will be such easy. So delete, and we'll just return this data. It will be deleted in the database. So let us implement it now. So first I will just replicate the model which I have created for the edit. So I have created this delete model similar to the other model. I've just copied that, renamed this, and I've created some text. Are you sure you want to delete? And I have added some classes. This is the span for adding the name, and this is for the ID, as we need to get the IDs and all. So this is I will also name this delete model as this is the ID of this data target. I have also in the data info I have passed the ID, first name, and last name. So I just want to display the name, like when you click on delete, are you sure you want to delete Emily, like that, so that I have passed this first name and last name. So that's the reason I have given this dname. Here I will pass the name, and when this is clicked, and when the model similarly like edit in the delete, when in the model when this is clicked, when this, I mean, like when footer button delete, when this delete button is clicked, I have just called an function just like before. This is for the edit. When footer action button, we have called the Ajax on this edit button. Similarly, for footer delete, I have called the Ajax for delete data, which I have already implemented or the delete functionality here. And there's also on click delete modal. I mean, when this delete button is clicked, we need to pass this ID, first name and last name, to the model as we did for edit. When edit is clicked, we are passing this data. So similarly, when delete is clicked, we'll pass the ID, first name and last name, but they will be hidden, and those will be used here. did.text, did.html. So this will be used here. This did is deleted name ID. This is the deleted person's name. Those are the fields here, dname and did. So let me save this and run again. So I will delete this Emily now. So I'll just delete. To ask, I actually want to delete Emily is now. For actually this ID should be hidden. Maybe the class is not working. This ID will be hidden. I will just hide it. And if I click on delete, you see this row for number 4 is deleted. Similarly, I'll try another one. We'll delete Lori Sanders, and it will be deleted. So when you click on delete, this ID should be hidden actually. Let me see what's happening there. In the delete model, this class hidden is not working. Maybe we can also static write a style here. Style equal to display none. So now we'll just try this again. So I'll just try to delete this. You can see Margaret Baker, that is gone. So that's it guys. The pagination is working. The search will work. We'll search for Sarah and Sarah will pop up, and this interest is working, and you see 25 is shown. This first name last name sorting those. That means we have successfully implemented CRUD operations using this DataTables plugin, Laravel. So basically there's also, we created a static root in the welcome blade which reads the data here, and then on those action buttons we have created 2 action buttons, edit and delete. So when those buttons are clicked, so when this button is clicked, we have initialized a model, and when this button is also clicked, we have initialized a model. So on this model, when this is clicked, on this update button, I have called an Ajax call, which takes this data and updates in the Laravel and sends back. So when this updated, we'll just use the data and update this row also in the view. Similarly, when delete is clicked, we'll get the ID and this first name last name just to show here. We'll take this ID and go back to the database, delete that, and return back to the same page, and it will be this. We have removed this again, and after that we have removed this row. So that is how we perform this CRUD operations, Ajax CRUD operations using data tables in Laravel. So hope you liked it, and in the next video I'm going to implement the same using server side. As I said earlier in the previous video, this client side would be used only if you have limited data. If the data is huge, this client side may not be preferred because it fetches all the data at a single time. All the 100 records, if you have 100 records, it will fetch all the 100 records. But if you have huge thousands and lakhs of records, if it fetches all the records at a time, it might create some time lag and performance issues. So server side basically calls what we need. Like if we page it by 10, it calls only 10 at a time. So that is the advantage of server side. So I will tell about server side in the next video. If you like this video, please share it with your friends, give it a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for more reviews from justlaravel.com. See you in the next videos. Bye bye.